I'm glad of this my whole body, and I'm so enjoying the contrast that I've created within my physical body, so that as I gain my tactility, I'm going to always, ever love in my force field, have the emotion of responding and delight in my physical body. Because, see, I'm an eternal being. I'm going to be here forever. I don't choose to transition. I choose to be happy right here, right now, in my middle kingdom. And there's no dynamic in my outer kingdom of things that I don't know that are going to have a negative connotation in my middle kingdom. And I know this because my inner kingdom, the heartstrings that move me to emotion, pull me to the place that I know that I can be, do, or have anything. And that I'm larger and grander than this dynamic of a sore knee, that my body normally balances itself. The food that I eat brings me much pleasure and delight. I enjoy every capacity of my experience on planet Earth. I like to run. I like to play. I remember the joy running around the yard or digging in my flower bed. I enjoy that dynamic. And don't worry about me, because I'm just fine.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
Welcome, everybody. This is Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. It's Monday evening, April 6th, and I hope you are strapped in, tuned in, and ready for another extraordinary 2 hours of Health Talk Radio with Dr. Carolyn Dean. It's much more than health, though, ladies and gentlemen. It's about joy. It's about function. It's about cellular life. It's about ascension. It's about everything you can imagine, and it's about feeling good always, eternally, and knowing within your own place of power you can be to or have anything you want, including impeccably healthy and feeling great. We're here this evening with Dr. Carolyn Dean, who is uniquely one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful doctor on the planet right now, the doctor of the future, who only concerns herself with her patients and the care of the human frame, a proper diet, and the cause and prevention of disease. We're so happy that she's here, not only to talk with us, but to also bring her 40 years of wisdom to the table, including her experience in allopathic and naturopathic medicine. And before I bring her on, I will just remind everybody that not only is Dr. Dean a medical doctor, but also a naturopath, an herbalist, an acupuncturist, a nutritionist, a lecturer, a consultant, and an author. Many of you having come to her work and through her work through the Magnesium Miracle, but not limited to that. So many other great works that she's done, including the Future Health Now Encyclopedia, which is fantastic, and Death by Modern Medicine, Seeking Safe Solutions, a book that she's been speaking about quite a lot recently. So we're happy to have her here with us this evening. I'm Ginney Gunther. I'll be with you here for the next 2 hours, along with all of our guests and callers and possible guest appearances by Dr. Dean's lovely, witty, charming, and absolutely fascinating husband, Bob. Welcome, Dr. Carolyn Dean, to your show.
Oh, thank you, Ginney. I just rushed over, took my teaspoon of magnesium, so I am ready to go. This is going to be an amazing show. I'm going to keep up with you today because I've just taken my Remag, and I'm so hyper I can't stop myself.
Very good. Well, I know we have a lot to talk about, but one of the things that we've started to do a little bit, Carolyn, at least, is try to focus the first part of the information that we talk about in the first part of the show tonight on something that's on your heart or mind, or something that our customers are bringing to the table, people who we're working with, who you're chitty-chatting with. And the headline on our advert tonight for the show is Much Needed Help for Elderly Friends and Family Members. And our wonderful good customer, Margaret Lee, up in Canada, talking about the incredible changes that have happened in her husband, who's 82 years old, as he's just started using the Complexities formula. So I know people are wanting you to hear talk about that, Carolyn, talking about how the formulas are so fantastic for elderly. And, of course, we've got your blog and whatever else is on your heart and mind. So, as my dad used to say, shoot, Luke, you're loaded.
Yeah, and take it away. Right. I was really happy to read your intro to the weekly email about helping people with anti-aging issues, as it were, because the only thing I had on my mind was a big tussle I got into with someone who emailed me instead of customer service, complaining and, oh my gosh, insulting, because we had the nerve not to put the ingredients of Remag and the ingredients of this and that on the website, and where was it and what were we trying to hide. And it turned out he just didn't know how to scroll down the page to find the information. So instead of wasting your time bitching about that, which, you know, which I know you get those types of emails and calls quite a bit, I think. And it's just because usually people's browsers are a little behind the times, or maybe they just don't know, they don't have enough patience to scroll. So with the information you sent out, I don't know how many people we have thousands and thousands of people on our email list for sure, but what Ginney put out today was something that Margaret wrote to us, and she said that I'm going to get Bob to come up here and shut the windows. Yeah, it's even though it's Easter Sunday, it looks like it's lawnmower time in Maui. So Margaret writes to Ginney and to pass it on to me and all the listeners on the radio show. She said, first, let me begin by giving our unlimited gratitude again to Dr. Carolyn Dean. I wrote to you last week how my 82-year-old husband's hands, lips, mouth were no longer blue, etc., after only beginning Remag very slowly on March 7th this year, so it's a month. And also he began the yeast detox. Today, I can write to tell you that he cannot remember when his sense of taste and smell were so good. The very best part is that the last 3 days he informed me he had noticed how much clearer his mind is. He could relate to me where he went on his long walk yesterday without struggling for the words, which he was having trouble finding before. Meaning he could see his walk in his mind but could not describe exactly where he went. I was speechless. And then he said, well, did you not notice I had become quieter? Wowee, isn't that amazing or what? Now, I don't know what that means about being quieter. Margaret can enlighten us on her next installment.
I think what that meant, I think what that meant, Carolyn, was that he's on these walks and his cognition he's not able to come back and tell her what he experienced. So he's shutting down, speaking verbally.
Oh, yes.
And he's saying, didn't you notice I've not been telling you? I've not been talking as much. I've become more quieter. And she's like, oh, my God. That's so amazing. He's getting it back. You know what I mean? Okay.
Right. Oh, perfect. Right. Wow, isn't this amazing? He's beginning to be much more engaged and more proactive, right? He goes through the day saying, isn't there something I should be taking now? He's a believer, Dr. Dean. You are more than the instrument for change. You give people, if they so desire, the information and products for a quality life. In any relationship, when one member is suffering, everyone suffers. So our hearts thank you for the quality of life we are beginning to experience. Stay tuned. Now, I'll say this. I don't think Margaret would mind. She's a decade or so younger than her husband. So, here we are with her husband in his 80s and thinking, well, I guess this is aging. And this is our topic.
Yeah.
And what I want to do, and Ginney started it by explaining about he got quiet. He just didn't want to talk because he couldn't find the words to talk. And so let's look at what Margaret said. So Bill had blue hands, lips, and mouth. What's that? It's lack of oxygenation. What helps the oxygen getting into the cells is the circulation. And what helps the circulation? Hydration. What helps hydration is minerals. And blocking all that also can be the yeast toxin. So what we simply did here was rehydrate with water and sea salt, remineralize with Remag and Relight and sea salt, and get the cells functioning so that they could accept the oxygen that was now coming with a more fluid circulation. When doctors talk about wanting to put everybody on blood thinners for any sort of heartbeats irregularity, they just are measuring people who are dehydrated. The sense of taste and smell, that may simply be a lack of zinc, for example, the mineral that helps the sense of taste and smell. So there's zinc in the Relight. And the clear mind, again, that's hydration. The body is 70% or 75% fluids, but recently I heard someone give a figure that the brain is more like 90%. Below the neck is 75% and above the neck is 90%. So when someone is dehydrated, they are symptoms that are mistaken for senility or, the senior moment type of bull crap. It may simply be dehydration. But water isn't enough because, as we said before, the filtered water these days doesn't have the minerals that we require. And the reason why the Remag and Relight are working as well as they are is because they're so well absorbed, 100% absorbed in the cellular level. And we get emails, all the time saying, well, how's your liquid magnesium any better than anyone else's? And it's because the expensive process to create the Remag and Relight stabilizes the ions of the magnesium chloride that we use. So when you put a magnesium chloride into water and liquefy it, the minerals will phase in and out of becoming a single ion of magnesium, single ion of chloride, and phase back into becoming a magnesium chloride compound. The process that we use stabilizes the magnesium ion so that it can get into the cells without having to fight to get in there. It doesn't need the B6 to help it. It doesn't need a gut that's intact to help it. It just goes in there. So this using water with the sea salt that has 72 minerals, that has nothing to do with table salt. Someone sent me something this week about some raw food guru was going on about, well, salt is salt, you know. You shouldn't be eating sea salt and you shouldn't be eating table salt. Get all your sodium from your vegetables. And those types of blanket statements you really have to be aware of. Nobody can give such a blanket statement when so many millions of people rely on sea salt as their only source of minerals. So then just to finish up Bill's story, his yeast detoxification is helping as well, because with for example, his loss of taste, what will happen is, in order to get a taste of anything, people will take a lot of table salt and eat a lot of sweets, because those seem to be the only things that they can really taste. They don't like spicy and they don't like sour. So even just in the diet, people can be eating enough carbohydrates to give them a yeast overgrowth. And the symptoms of yeast overgrowth you can find on the yeastconnection.com. It's just it's a nonprofit type website with just information, and there's a long candida or yeast questionnaire there that you can go through and just see how many symptoms you have of yeast, and then do a yeast-free diet, eat your garlic, take a good probiotic, and start working on your yeast. So with the elderly, I mean, here we have Bill's statement, and something else that I'd like to go over briefly, or maybe not so briefly, is, well, how do people get to this stage of having all these symptoms? You know, is everybody going to end up like this? And it's becoming more and more clear that that can happen to people when they start brushing up against modern medicine. I have permission from a new client who's a nurse to tell some of her story, because this is the scenario that may happen. I'll tell her story, and then, you know, as I do with my clients, I'll say, well, when this happened at this time, then you developed yeast, or you started getting more magnesium deficient. So this woman had her children when she was 39 and 41, and she said that was very hard on her. She always had raging PMS. So there was someone who, twice as old as, you know, maybe if you had your children in your early 20s, then you'd have more energy and less thyroid fatigue and less adrenal fatigue. So the first thing that happens when someone is fatigued, thyroid and adrenal-wise, when they're pregnant, is postpartum depression. So here we have someone who did not have their 9 thyroid minerals, taking them during the pregnancy, and that's our Relight has 9 of the 12 minerals are for supporting the thyroid. The adrenals we support with magnesium, with the sodium in sea salt and zinc, and all the other minerals are helpful, but those are the main ones. So for postpartum depression, even before I had the Remag and the Relight, it was put people on zinc and a homeopathic called echinacea, which is to treat the martyr syndrome. Because when you have a baby and you're a perfectionist, you can no longer be perfectionist, and you get very frustrated because things aren't as perfect as they used to be. So echinacea is very helpful there. So here she was with postpartum depression, put on a roller coaster of antidepressants, tried just about all of them over a course of 10 years, finally refused them. So 10 years of drugs, a lot of stripping of your magnesium. I didn't go over all the names of them, but some of them are fluoride have fluoride molecules in them that bind up your magnesium. And then, you know, she talked about when she tried to wean off them, she would really get depressed. So they would throw her into, you know, this addictive type behavior that you get on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, which they then started to put her on. So it began to be benzodiazepines, which then she took years to try to wean off, and I've heard that more than once. And the anxiety attacks then went into sort of lung wheezing symptoms. She said she really didn't believe she had asthma, but she was given a fluoride drug for asthma, and that made things worse because that took out her magnesium. She started to get she had a couple of surgeries then, and this is a huge thing that I want to remark on for as people go on in their health histories. When you have surgeries, you're given anesthetics, of course, and put you under. And there are anesthetics, common anesthetics that have fluorides. And when you wake up from surgery and when you say to me, I've never been well since that surgery, I think it might have to do with the fluoride anesthetic blocking your magnesium, and you just don't have enough magnesium to make you stronger. After one of the surgeries, a hiatus hernia kicked up, and she was put on a protein pump inhibitor, which she even knew as a nurse causes magnesium deficiency. So I mean, you can see, Ginney, it does go on and on and on. And when her blood pressure then went high, and they did her electrolytes, her potassium was low. But, of course, they never measured her magnesium. And even if they did, they wouldn't measure it properly. And when your potassium is low, your magnesium is always low. And then, exhaustion, that was her adrenals were finally getting lower and lower. And then she began to have palpitations. So there's your anxiety, shortness of breath with wheezing, misinterpreted as asthma, high blood pressure, and then the palpitations and more difficulty breathing, and then come the heart medications. And the heartburn was still there, and it can just be a spasm of the lower esophagus and the upper stomach, and a lot of people tell us that just taking magnesium helps that. But in my Future Health Now encyclopedia, I have safe remedies for heartburn, and there are even YouTubes that tell you how to massage your hiatus hernia back into place. And the last thing this nurse client says on her email of her health history was her cholesterol is 256, and her doctor tries constantly to put her on cholesterol drugs. She says she had tried them in the past and made her immediately sick. She felt she had flu the entire time she was on it, and of course it was a fluoride drug. And she said when she was in nursing school at Vanderbilt, below 300 was normal for cholesterol. And she said, what happened? Yeah, and then she answers, big pharma happened. So this is a scenario of an educated medical person who herself got trapped in the whole rigmarole of treating every symptom with a drug, and then having to pull herself out of the side effects. And she's extremely happy and hopeful now because we did talk about yeast overgrowth and the minerals and the sea salt and water, and it was pretty straightforward to explain to her how all her symptoms came about. Oh yes, about the yeast overgrowth. She has mitral valve prolapse, which means she was always given antibiotics anytime she had anything done in the dental chair. But mitral valve prolapse can be a magnesium deficiency where the mitral valve goes into spasm and does not close properly. So she thought that was amazing. And then there was always a bit of postnasal drip and sinus infections that were always treated with antibiotics. whereas the Mayo Clinic itself has done research and says 97% of sinus infections are fungal related. So you're taking antibiotics to treat a fungal situation that will just get worse when you take the antibiotics. So the scenario is just this, I don't know. Yes, actually I do know what this lady said. It's like the perfect storm of occurrences that ended up just taking all her energy. And see, then what happens? You don't have energy to exercise, and you start gaining weight, and then you feel really upset because you're gaining weight and you can't get control of your symptoms. So what this woman said now is she has hope, and she can see what has transpired in her life, and she's in her early 60s. She doesn't have to wait until her 80s to do the treatments like Bill is doing to get back his health. And I'm saying this to the audience so that you can tell your 40-year-old friends and your 20-year-old friends that get your building blocks together right now, your Remag and Relight. Do your gentle detox with Realign. Do a yeast intervention before you get a yeast overgrowth, and use the RNA drops to get your mind in the game so that you can be as healthy and happy as Bob. Right, Ginney?
Very good. That's right. Healthy and happy as Bob. No, it is a good point because this is what a lot of people are having to consider is I know the first person I saw actually talking about this on a television program, and this was several years ago, was Jane Fonda, who was basically saying those of us who are in our 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond are having to consider the fact that we are going to continue to live vibrant lives, or we're going to continue to live. They're not going to let us go. And, this is the whole Alzheimer's thing, I think, of people gradually checking out when they don't have purpose, passion, pursuit, and all those other kind of things. But, people are having to consider, what if I live another 40 or 50 years at the age of 50 or 60? That's a whole lifetime. And how are they going to enjoy that lifetime? Even if they can't, make the big leap to ascension, we're eternal, we live forever, and all these other kinds of ideas that we play with and talk about on Bob's show, at the very least, they are facing a longevity issue of being vital and vibrant and able to move and be effective in their bodies and their lives and their minds. And so it's just so awesome that a handful of things can really sustain people. And also, Carolyn, share about the bone density results we've been getting too, because I know bone density is supposed to start to deteriorate, right? Isn't it?
Yes, they have. In the studies of osteoporosis, the doctors keep saying that you can't get it back with exercise or with calcium. We know that doesn't work. So they do give drugs, and it just makes more brittle bones. And we've had 3 people tell us that their bone scans are showing that their bone density has improved, and all they've done is been on the complement formula. So we're getting that evidence that we can pass on to people as well.
Here supposedly everybody's supposed to be decaying and declining and aging, and instead I do think what people feel when they use the RNA drops and the complement formulas is they start to feel their eternalness. They start to feel very young, and they start to feel vibrant again, and their minds start to clear up, and all these things that you've talked about, the circulation and everything improving, then they actually can start to say, wow, if there's a hope I can feel better, how much better can I feel? That's when they start moving into, well, maybe I can get the yeast out, and then maybe I can do this, and then maybe I can start exercising, and the next thing you know, they're like wow, I've got my life back. So it's really awesome what's happening for people. And if people are also taking care of their elderly parents, Carolyn, I know we have a lot of people who are taking care of their elderly parents, and they got, the Remag for their parents, and they started taking it for themselves because they needed the energy. They had to be able to have the stamina and endurance to take care of their elderly loved one.
Yes, and the energy is very important. That's where we've talked about if you don't want to jump in and start with all four, which we do recommend, then we should say start with the Remag, and then you'll have enough energy to do the exercise, make the meals, get the rest of the supplements, because you can just feel better and better. Unlike the messages that you've been getting from your doctors that, once you're past 60, they really do not see you anymore as a human being who could be eternal. They just see you declining. And everybody I talk to says that. Everything is put down to, oh, well, it's just your age, and they use that as an excuse. So there's no need for that type of behavior, and hopefully you can leave your doctor who has that attitude and find someone who will work with you. And I think that's possible. I mean, people do tell us that they're finding good doctors, and they'll take my magnesium book to the doctor, and maybe they'll strike a chord, especially if their doctor is having magnesium deficiency symptoms. It's like you have to try these things to really know they're real, whereas in medical school, doctors were never given any impression that taking a mineral could actually help your health.
Right, and not only that, but I mean, honestly, other than like, let's say you and me and Bob and a handful of other people, who's actually saying that you can anticipate improving, especially as you continue to quote unquote supposedly age, that you can actually start to improve your health. I mean, everybody just expects to hit 50, stall, and start a slow decline into, nothingness. I mean, it's really extraordinary what we're able to accomplish with these formulas that people can actually plan on living. I mean, it's great.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I'm just looking through the mailbag. There was an ER doc, an emergency room doctor, who emailed me, and she said, let me just find my place here, that, sorry, I'm get too much going on. She said, I'm an ER doc, and lots of times I've been able to convert folks out of atrial fibrillation with 1 gram, or that would be 1,000 milligrams of magnesium sulfate IV. Most of the serum magnesium levels are 1.3 to 1.5. So they're in AFib. They get the MAG IV. Their blood levels before the MAG IV look in the normal range, the serum, but she gives the MAG IV, and they convert. So it means that the serum level looking normal didn't mean a thing. They still needed that magnesium. And she said every so often we see a 0.5 level of serum magnesium, which is very, very low. So to me, that's a nice little input. I was very happy she emailed to say that some doctors are using magnesium and seeing that it's helpful. See, when they do a big study on people with a heart attack, for example, and they give IV magnesium and they follow them and try to determine, get a conclusion from it, it's not even a valid study right from the get-go, because they don't do a proper magnesium evaluation beforehand. They need an ionized magnesium level, If they're low, then they should give a lot of magnesium. If their levels aren't too bad, then give a different dose of magnesium, or just include people in the study who are low on magnesium to see if magnesium works. So most of the studies on nutrients are not done properly. They just give a blanket nutrient and then expect to draw a conclusion. But you don't know if the population you're studying is already magnesium deficient or nutrient deficient, or if they have the nutrient. So it's, to me, that's why I just say, look, take magnesium. It's like food. It doesn't have side effects. If you take too much of, the ordinary magnesiums, you'll get the laxative effect. And this is what happened with our nurse friend. She read all my information, began to take the jigsaw magnesium, but got diarrhea at 3 and 4 pills and still had symptoms. So people then think, well, I'm getting enough and it's not working. But what we're putting into the mix here is a type of magnesium where you can reach therapeutic levels and get a good response without having any loss of magnesium with the laxative effect. So it's a whole different ballgame that we've created, actually.
Absolutely. Amen and amen to that. Absolutely. Not just with the minerals and how you're suggesting people to use them. We don't talk, the relight, realign. I mean, every single formula, we should probably talk about them on a weekly basis, because what they do is so important. How they interact is brilliant, just brilliant. And then the drops are on a whole nother level. And even if you just take the the Remag, Relight, and Realign, which I know a lot of our customers do that, they should at least take the RNA drops for all the unknown factors of the multi-bodied, perspective, including the effects of the mind and relaxation and the chip body and the effects of the electric environment that people can't foresee. We know we've had testimonials about radiation. We know that people who use the RNA drops after they've been through chemotherapy or some kind of other cancer intervention have recovered very dramatically because of the drops dealing with radiation and toxicity in the body. I mean, there's just so many great things. So, yeah, it would be few people to take them all and just stick with it, because once you start being able to anticipate being healthy and consistently healthy and continuing to improve, that's when things get really exciting, for people.
Yes, yeah, it's more and more it seems that the whole spectrum of the 4 and 5 being the Renew serum, these 4 and 5 formulas are doing so much, and the more I talk to my clients and realize that they're on dozens and dozens of remedies and they still aren't quote unquote cured, I realize that people do need things to be simplified, but there is a complexity to a health picture when someone has gone for decades creating their mineral deficiencies and gone for decades creating yeast overgrowth. So I end up very often saying to people, look, you really do have to be patient. This is not a drug therapy. This is not something that can go overnight, although we've seen that too. That's where the mystery of the RNA drops can really affect some people, where they say they have overnight cures. But that's not what we promote. We just tell people to be consistent and be patient. And it's almost like with the treatment protocols, if intellectually you hear what we're saying on the radio show, you read the Remag and Relight books, you look at some of the testimonials on drcarolyndeanlive.com, and you get it in your mind that, okay, this is what I want to do, and then you just do it, and you kind of go on with your life, and don't second guess yourself every day and kind of interrupt your possibility of healing. You can, put a spanner in the works if you keep on judging yourself and saying that, I just don't see myself improving. I often say to people, look, if you almost have to be about 50% better with a symptom before you'll even recognize it. And that's where sometimes people call up and complain, well, I've still got this and this and this. And, well, what has improved? So that's the whole aspect of affirmations, where you affirm that you're still alive, as Margaret and Bill are doing. They're saying, okay, the blueness is gone. Oh, yeah, now the taste is better. And they're not saying what's still bad. They're saying what's good and what's improved, and they're expecting more. Right, Ginney?
That's exactly right. Very good. Excellent, excellent. Oh, very good. Very good show opener. Yay, that was fantastic. Well, everybody, this will be my little commercial interlude here to let everybody know this is Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Again, we're about 20 minutes to the top of the hour, but this is the time we can start taking calls from our customers and clients and general interested participants who are listening from around the world and here in the United States. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for participating in your own personal empowerment and taking responsibility for your health, vitality, and well-being, and just the things that happen from that are amazing in and of themselves. If you'd like to talk to Carolyn tonight, the phone lines are open, 602-666-6027. 602-666-6027. She is available for calls and also feedback. If you've talked to her before, you want to share an update or something that you've been going through, she's happy to talk with you. You just hit *5 on your keypad once you get into the conference call, *5. We'll wave your hand and let us know you have something you want to share, and we'll put you on the phone with her. Also, you can use the InQuick messaging system or the at achieveradio.com. You just go to Studio A, where you may be listening from, and you'll see on the right-hand side of the page, you just fill out your name, your location, and your question or comment, like our good friend Tasha in Calgary, Alberta, Canada did, Carolyn. And she writes in and says, hi, Dr. Dean. I feel really stupid because this is right in front of my nose, and I cannot seem to see what's wrong. That's cute. For 3+ months, there's a small spot in the top corner of my nose, and it came from out of nowhere, and it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming forth with a piece of skin. Then it dries, and I remove it, and it keeps going on and on. I've been on the formulas for well over a year now. What do you think this is from? Many thanks, Tasha.
Are you putting Renew on it? I had something similar. I don't know if it's seborrheic keratosis or just damaged from the sun type of spot, but the Renew, dabbing Renew on it should do the trick. So let her InQuick us back and see if she's doing that for herself.
Okay, very good. Awesome. Also, let's go to some of our callers. Again, the phone lines are open, 602-666-6027. And I was thinking, Carolyn, you must just be radiating your vibe all the way through the Hawaiian Islands, because we're getting tons of customers coming in from Hawaii. And we have one of them joining us this evening in Honolulu. And actually, it's not even evening there, I guess. It's early afternoon. You're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Go ahead with your question or comment. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Aloha. This is Dale Dudas, and I'm calling to speak with Dr. Dean. Dr. Dean, I really appreciate all that you do. I hope eventually you'll get all your books on all your books that you'd like to see perpetuated into a Kindle-type book, ebook, because that's the way we read most of ours. But the purpose of my call tonight, I've read the Magnesium Miracle and the IBS book that you for Dummies book, and a couple others that you have, and really, really good. But here's a problem that my wife has had. She's 69 years young. And in 1985 was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and that really started me researching between that and having the internet available, researching to try and improve both of our health. And magnesium, as we were reading your book, and this wasn't new news to us, but as we were reading your book, and I went through the checkoff list you have of possible people who might have a magnesium deficit, it was easier to check off the things my wife didn't have than the ones she did have. Problem we have is she may be one of those people who just, for some reason, and I'm hoping you've run across this, seems to be have a reaction to taking magnesium. Every time she tries to take it in any amount, more than just a minuscule amount, she gets either throws up or just gets an upset stomach or headache or something like that. We recently bought your product, the Complete, and she tried taking that. She's tried taking Remag, tried taking a topical lotion, which they take forever to dry. I mean, she didn't have much of a reaction to that, but it just takes like 30 minutes to dry on her skin, which is a lot. So I was wondering if you had any encouragement for us here or any wisdom.
Sure. Yes, we see that, and it's fibromyalgia. I just looked up drcarolyndeanlive.com and put in the search magnifier there, fibromyalgia, and I've talked about it 7 different times. So I'll probably be repeating myself here. But fibromyalgia is magnesium and mineral deficiency and yeast overgrowth for the most part. And it ends up being a buildup of toxins, a reaction such as your wife is having to magnesium implies that the cells are so toxic that when the magnesium gets into the cells and wants to do its work, it has to kick out the toxins first, and it sounds like a toxic reaction. What I do with the Remag, and you probably read this, is just start with a couple of drops in a liter of water and sip that through the day, and then every couple of days increase by a couple of drops. I've had many people do that and tell me they thought it was crazy because it was so little, but it's not. 1 drop of Remag has 2.5 milligrams of magnesium, and that can get into so it's a matter of going slowly and not being discouraged, because if you try to push it and think, well, that's not very much, I'm going to give more, then you'll get a reaction, and then it's like 1 step forward and 2 steps back. But she's magnesium deficient. It is trying to find something that's clean and pure. Remag is the best. If you want to do the topical with Remag, it dries very well and very quickly. A lot of parents use it on their autistic kids and have great results, and especially with fibromyalgia, you spray it right on the painful trigger areas. So you spray and you let dry. I mean, in my mind now, I'm just thinking, why not get a little hair dryer and put it on cool or low and spray it on, dry it with the hair dryer, spray it again, do that 4 or 5 times. And people tell us that they get immediate relief with aches and pains. And with fibromyalgia, you really want to get that magnesium in to bump the calcium out of the cells around the fibromyalgia tissue, which are causing the pain and like the scarring and everything. And the other thing is looking at the yeast toxins. Yeast toxins will use up a lot of magnesium. There's 178 different toxins that are released by yeast. Some of them are alcohols. There's an acetaldehyde, which causes the brain fog. So that's my focus. It's kind of really read my Remag and Relight books. They're on their PDF. They're also Kindled. And I've tried to lay it out really step by step. But as I said a few minutes ago, intellectually you can see what I'm getting at. See how the
I see that, and we recently and I appreciate that, and I remember reading that, and we'll go back. We got 1/8 of a teaspoon, but that's too much. Got to go back to 2 drops. I got that. about a year and a half ago, maybe a little longer, we converted to basically a low-carb diet. It's kind of a paleo low-carb diet, and not a lot of protein, but kind of balancing a lower carbs. And we've noticed some significant improvements just because we're eating a lot more fresh foods and you know, shopping on the outer edge of the grocery store instead of in the canned goods section. So that's helped a lot. So we're attacking it as an autoimmune type thing more than just looking at the fibromyalgia, since that's very non-specific. So
yeah, and autoimmune, Dale, autoimmune is really just the body attacking a toxic self. It's not a new disease.
Right.
It's just when the body has, say, all these yeast toxins, it has to attack them. And sometimes there's collateral damage where the hormone receptors get blocked or certain organs get blocked. So try not to make it a big thing other than, I say to people, you know, with mineral deficiency heart symptoms, I say you don't have heart disease, you have a magnesium deficiency.
Right.
So in this case with the fibromyalgia, it's mineral deficiencies and yeast toxins. Okay, let's tackle those.
Okay.
And, you know, when you look at how the body gets diverted into dealing with all those yeast toxins, yes, the immune system can appear weakened, and then, oh, it doesn't seem to make enough methyl groups, and, oh, the methyl groups are needed to digest gluten and casein, and, oh, you know, it all travels around in a circle, but talking about gluten.
And it's 60 milligrams. So I take one tablet a day, 60. And I've been on this particular NP since early March. So it's been about a month. And I have been feeling more tired. I got a recent blood work back, and I wanted to share that with you. You know, interestingly, my doctor did not order T3, which I think it was a real oversight. What do you recommend, T3, T4,
TSH.
and TSH?
Just TSH,
okay.
If you're trying to determine how much your thyroid is being helped. So what's your TSH?
Okay, my TSH is 0.437. And so it's in the range. You know, it says 0.358 to 3.7, so it's actually in the low end of the range.
Yeah, so that implies you have enough hormone, but I mean, yeah, the generics are different from the non-generic, so you're experiencing a shift. But then my question is, how much Relight are you on?
Great question. I actually ran out, and I just got a package today from dear Ginney. Thank you. And
how long were you off it?
I've only been out of it, Carolyn, for about 2 weeks, but because I was running low, I started to use a little bit less.
And when have you been feeling tired?
I have been feeling tired for probably since about a week or two after I started the NP. I was taking Relight.
During the time you were off your Relight, I mean, you see the point I'm trying to make here laboriously is, do you think that cutting down and stopping your Relight for a couple of weeks is a factor in here? Yes, I do. What do you think?
I think I very much think that's why I'm so excited I got my package. I got my Relight here. I'm wondering how much Relight for someone with thyroid issues, and also, Dr. Dean, did you want to just know, are you curious at all? The only other test that you ordered was T4, and that was low. It was, and I'm wondering, doesn't T4 have to convert to T3, and T3 is the active?
Yes, right.
So is that a concern that my T4 was low?
Well, I mean, it depends. Where is your thinking going? Do you want to wean off your thyroid pills and work with your Relight, or are you going to focus on taking more of the NP?
I do not want to take more of the NP. I'm just wondering, since I felt pretty well on Armor for the last, I don't know how many years, and yes, I added Relight, and I've heard you occasionally, talk about your thyroid and say you got off your Armor. I would be open to that. I guess I noticed that even on the Relight with the Armor, I was feeling great, and then I switched to NP, and still on the Relight, and then I ran out of the Relight. And
so when you were feeling good on the Relight and the Armor, how much Relight were you taking?
Probably, and you're going to laugh because I kept my dropper, so I'm going to refer to the droppers. I kept my dropper from the old bottle. I was probably doing 3 droppers full a day.
So you were taking 3/4 of a teaspoon of Relight, which is half the kind of maintenance dose. So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to get your thyroid healed, you could be doing 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of Relight, and wait and see if you feel, as you're feeling better, then decide if you start getting a little too hyper with your thyroid, more energy, heart palpitations, people know their symptoms, and you start weaning back off your NP.
Awesome. Okay, I did not know to take that much. I didn't realize that 3 droppers full was the half of the maintenance.
Well, you have to put your droppers in a measuring teaspoon to get an accurate view. I mean, some parts of the world, the dropper only fills up, a third. Some places it's a half. So just check it out. But 1.5 to 2 teaspoons. When you're kind of medicating yourself with Relight in hopes of weaning off your thyroid hormone, then you want to be as accurate as possible. And the thing is, with the hormone replacement, that's just giving you, yes, some T4 and desiccated thyroid, but it's not giving you the 9 minerals that your thyroid is screaming out for. So do that, increase the Relight, just sort of, turn your thoughts to, let me support my thyroid. Don't worry about the blood test necessarily. It shows that you probably have a little more than you need right now of the hormone, even though you're tired. The tiredness to me is probably because of you're not having enough Relight now that your body was getting used to. And also make sure you're taking about 2 teaspoons of Remag as well.
Okay, very good. That's what I was going to ask. Okay, so 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of Relight and 2 teaspoons daily of Remag. I will definitely do that and report back.
Yes, I'd like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yes, very good. We're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Thanks for that call, Michelle. Thanks, everybody, for calling, listening in this evening. Love to have you along. Carolyn, I think we must move into our mail bag.
Oh, gosh, yes. Yeah, we hit a few of them, but let's see what I have below here. Okay, a couple wrote in, young couple, wondering why any calcium is included in Relight. I have, I think, 30 milligrams, 30 milligrams of calcium in Relight. So I wrote back that it was a minuscule amount in order to balance the magnesium in the Relight, which is also a small amount because we have our Remag. And I said most people can get their calcium from the diet, but some can't, so I'm actually creating a calcium formula. What this person was concerned about, and, people can read the ingredients. They can see it's 300. They can know from what I've written that 600 to 700 is my RDA, and there's only 30 in Relight. I'm sorry if I said 300, but there's 30 in Relight, and the RDA is 600 to 700. So it is a tiny amount, but somebody on Green Med Info wrote an article, when was it? Yeah, just a few days ago, taking calcium supplements causes brain lesions. Now, I hope I don't write headlines like that, because, I mean, that's scary stuff. I know sometimes I say scary stuff, but, you know, this person is just unnecessarily scaring people. Yes, we are overcalcified, but then actually let me see what he talks about magnesium. Yeah, he has in about magnesium. The problem with poor quality inorganic calcium supplements, he says, is it does not stop with their contribution to cardiovascular disease. A combination of factors, including low magnesium, vitamin K2, and the presence of fluoride in the water and diet, can lead to pineal gland calcification, as well as calcification of other brain structures, and a factor in Alzheimer's. So yeah, not talking enough about how much magnesium to take, and the other factors like people taking so much vitamin D. So, you know, I got a bit concerned. I said that it's counterproductive to have such negative headlines that scare people. Yes, food is better if you can get your calcium in food, but if you do have to take a calcium supplement, the pico size calcium that I recommend is absorbed like the magnesium. So it's fully absorbed. We use low potency, make it fully absorbed so it doesn't build up in your poor pineal gland. And then this gentleman says, now for the good news, my atrial fibrillation is completely under control with Remag, and I'm now completely off my beta blocker. Thank you very much. And he also said he's taking some iodine, and I said, I hope you're taking the sea salt and Relight. All the minerals work together. And he wrote back and said, yes. So this business about the calcium, it's going to keep coming up as people are getting educated about it being unsafe, but there's still that balance. You know, the body needs calcium. It needs calcium for proper blood clotting, for our bones, and for, you know, for many things. Not as many things as you need magnesium for, but we can't completely stop our calcium intake. Did you have anything to say about that, Ginney? Do people call and talk to you about or ask you about calcium?
We do have a lot of people who ask, and we do get emails that come in, and you've got me kind of in the mind, too, that when people are saying maybe that they started using a lot of Remag, and then maybe they get a little achy, crampy, that it might be them not getting enough calcium. So, and then a lot of times, I mean, I'm surprised at how popular, like some of these diets, like these Whole30 diet. Somebody sent me this the other day, where no sugar, no wheat, no dairy, and it's like, yeah, where would they get the calcium from?
Mm-hmm. Yes, because when people hear no dairy, then they think no yogurt or no kefir, and there are lactose-free cheeses that you can take if lactose is your problem. If it's the casein you're avoiding, the casein protein in dairy, we talked earlier about, you know, that can be just that you're not digesting it properly. You don't have the right methyl group, so, or the magnesium, which helps the digestion. So to just avoid is really not good enough therapeutic protocol.
And yes, avoid, because that's what this thing was unbelievable. I mean, it was, nothing, you know, no protein, no dairy, no kefir, no nothing, because I guess they've gotten paranoid now, no cheese, because they were paranoid that there's sugar in all these processed cheeses and kefirs and stuff. So as an attempt to get rid of the sugar, they're trying to get rid of all this. Is that accurate, or?
I think so, but yeah, the body, there has to be a balance. And when I put people on a yeast-free diet, I say try to do 80% because if you can't be that fanatic and strict. And yes, a fanatic diet, like people will say they'll go on a raw green drink smoothie fast for a while, but you can't maintain that. And it's too rigid, and it's too strict, and it doesn't give you all the balanced food groups. I know a lot of people who go to these fasting and raw retreats, and they end up getting yeast overgrowth because in order to try to balance out all the boring green stuff, they start eating a lot of fruit. And then and they're told, oh, it's a natural sugar and it's okay. But we've talked many times about how fruit sugars take more energy to digest than even table sugar. So anyway, yes, it's balance, 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 not avoid, avoid, avoid.
Right. I think it was interesting that in that Sugar, the Bitter Truth one, Dr. Lustig says that, in the case of taking in sugar with fruit, that the nature also packs it with fiber. So he said you got to have something good to get all that fiber in your system, otherwise you wouldn't eat it, So they said there's nature's wisdom. I thought that was cute. I thought that was very cute.
Yeah, very good. Okay, next mailbag. This is a woman who called a couple weeks ago, and I won't identify her, but she said, I want to apologize for my last call on the show. I was pretty distraught and carried on. It's a scary thing doing this on your own. She has atrial fibrillation. She said, I take no meds. I'm 74 years old, and I feel 30. Sometimes I even act like I'm 30. And thank you for your post on AFib. So, yes, that was one of my recent blogs about atrial fibrillation. She said it validated what I'm doing, and that's a good feeling. She said that I've upped my Relight to 1.5 teaspoons, the Remag to 2 full teaspoons, my 1/4 teaspoon Celtic salt to the quart of water, as you've recommended, and what a difference that's made. I also drink 8 or 9 cups of water a day. I feel like I literally float through life. I seldom have any pitter-patter in my heart, and when I do, it lasts for a few seconds. I'm hoping to increase my magnesium and minerals, and it'll help my body regulate the systolic pressure number, which goes up to 140 at times. Other times it's between 107 and 115. So, yeah, that top figure is your magnesium deficiency and stress level. It's not so much to do with your heart. And her bottom one, the diastolic, which has to do with the back pressure on the heart, is 60 to 65, which is pretty perfect. And, if you put a person with that blood pressure on a blood pressure medication to try to manipulate the top one, you would be manipulating the bottom one too, and that's where older people start fainting on their medications because their blood pressure is too low to get the blood to their head. She said, I'm going to have an EXA test, EXATST, which is a mineral test for magnesium chloride, potassium, and sodium, and I think phosphorus too, using self-grapings from under the tongue. It's covered by Medicare and most insurances. And yes, I've just edited that into the next edition of the Remag book, that if you can get a doctor to perform this test, it is covered by insurance. And I think you can go to the test, EXATEST.com website and find a doctor in your area who will do that test. And it's a couple $100 if you don't have insurance, but apparently with a doctor's script, insurance pays the full cost. So people are doing that, and I think it's probably even a better test than magnesium RBC, but all these tests, as I say to people quite often, I'd rather look at your whole picture and your symptoms and not just rely on the test, because I will get people emailing, and I know customer service does as well, and say, well, my test is pretty normal. It's, 585960, but I still have symptoms. I'm really disappointed. It's like the test could be the problem, or you could have had too much magnesium too soon before your test. What you keep looking at your symptoms, look clinically rather than just basing everything on one test. I could go on to the next mailbag if we don't have any calls. What do you think, Ginney?
Okay, let's see. We'll put out, I think let's keep going with the mailbag, Carolyn.
Great. Again, on the heels of the atrial fibrillation blog, someone said, I've been meaning to tell you about my own AFib story. Last year, June 30th, I developed abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting. Within several hours, the pain localized to the right lower quadrant, so I went to the hospital ER, finally diagnosed with acute appendicitis, major teaching hospital, and as I well know, on July 1st, all the rotations changed, so she didn't get into the ER for 18 hours after, and 24 hours after the original onset of symptoms. By that time, she had perforated her appendix, so she woke up on 2 IV antibiotics, Flagyl and Levaquin, and Levaquin is a fluoride drug, and continued to have severe nausea and vomiting due to narcotics. After 3 more days of constant vomiting, she began refusing the narcotics, and symptoms improved quickly. 4th hospital day, she developed atrial fibrillation with a rapid ventricular response, admitted to the ICU. At that point, she refused Levaquin, although the cardiologist assured me it had nothing to do with the arrhythmias. They checked her electrolytes, and serum magnesium and potassium were both low. They had not been doing those tests post-op in spite of vomiting constantly for 4 days. Long story short, I converted to normal rhythm fairly quickly after discontinuing the Levaquin and taking potassium and magnesium supplements. A couple days later, they sent her home, discontinued all meds, and been happily taking Remag and Relight ever since with no further problems. So she said, I likely had low magnesium prior to the hospitalization, which was exacerbated by vomiting and the Levaquin. I had never had a problem with low potassium before. It's truly shocking how unaware conventional medicine is of basic biochemistry and also of the dangerous side effects of the medications they prescribe. I'm very fortunate that they didn't kill me. I am grateful for your excellent products. So that's the scenario.
That should be put on our website.
Okay.
That's an important statement. That is the facts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
I mean, I can hear this stuff and I say, and you tell me you're going to a doctor, I'll hang up the phone on you. You're a bloody idiot. If you're 60 and been around and educated yourself, get over this doctor nonsense.
I know.
They are the ancient regime. They're the aristocrats. Before the Bastille, before the French Revolution, at Louis XIV's court,
Mm-hmm.
They're the idiots. They've obsolesced themselves. Not maybe the surgeons, the guys that deal with car accidents and that, but your average servicing of non-surgical issues, they are really irresponsible. And I'm speaking as a citizen of this global theater.
Well said, Bob. We appreciate your input. You have stated what's on everybody's mind.
Right.
Okay. Next mailbag.
Excellent.
Ginney?
Yes, please.
Okay. Now this is what I blogged. So, oh yeah, gosh, this is what a number of people were responding to. Where this woman had an abnormal EKG. The cardiologist misdiagnosed her with AFib, and when she said she didn't want to go on the blood thinners for life, he screamed at her that there was no cure for AFib. she went to she said by the time she got out of his office, she thought she was going to stroke out in the parking lot. She never went back. The next cardiologist said, you've been misdiagnosed. Who told you you had AFib? She didn't have it, but he said, with your irregular heartbeats, in 5 years you'll probably develop AFib. And she went to an electrophysiologist, and he said the same. You know, they all have this standard. Your heart is starting to be irregular, and it's just going to get worse. So she's on the. I just talked to this person a couple days ago as a new client, and she's on the formula. Now here's a question I get, every couple of months. This woman says, I've always been concerned about nanotechnology. Can you explain why the picometer-sized magnesium is not problematic? And so I said, picometer remag describes the size of ions in the formula. All magnesium is ionic when dissolved, but when the ions immediately bind with other ions to make compounds, they're no longer picometer in size, no longer ionic. But also our remag does go through a process that puts them into picometer size. So I'm just kind of educating her. The reason remag works is the magnesium ions are stabilized. They can enter the cells through the picometer size channels. Nanotechnology is just a name for small machines and has nothing to do with picometer minerals. That's why I didn't want to name the remag nanometer size, because nano has been taken over and people equate nano with nanotechnology. So I don't know if I can make the point clearer. I know it's hard to explain this to people who don't know about physics or chemistry. But do people ever ask you that question, Ginney?
Yes. They also ask about the drops, too. Is that nanotechnology? Oh, goodness. It's like, no, it's just back to nature in an accelerated kind of ionic way. So, yeah, very funny. No. People want to just be, I think the Internet has also inundated with people and made people, somewhat paranoid. Mm-hmm. They're trying to do their best, especially when they're treading out on the skinny branches, being out there. And like, Bob said, they're trying to not engage with doctors. They're being proactive, and then they get out there and they get uncertain because nobody's telling them what to do, and they have to vet it all out for themselves.
Right, good point. And, the way a lot of websites, health websites, sell their products is through fear-based information. So they do pick up a lot of the negatives, and they're used to be identifying with the negative instead of the positive. And I think positive things are just charlatans, trying to give them a snow job. But I guess what we always say about that is we just, try the products and you'll see for yourself how much better you feel. Here's
That's
someone,
right. Yep.
Right. Here's someone, a quick note, who's doing my online wellness program. I'm looking forward to every module because I find suggestions in every module very useful. I'm thankful for the dry eyes homeopathic drops. In one of the eye modules, I talk about the Similasin, Similasin, homeopathic eye drops. She says it relieves irritation immediately. I've been using them every morning and whenever I feel irritation. Castor oil is in my face wash, and I massage it gently around my eyes and eyelashes. Now I'll drop it in the eye because I have in that module about the 1 drop of organic castor oil in the eye to help open up the ducts in the eye for better drainage. Thank you, everything you suggest in this module I'll incorporate into my healthy practices and hope to improve my myopia. Much love to you. So yeah, I have a lot of people doing the Completement Now online wellness program and doing very well. So that's very, very fulfilling.
Yep. Very good.
Our other phone ringing. Bob, do you want to pick it up and then get rid of it? The next, this is a long one, and sometimes I get these huge, long ones, and I have to tell people, look, you're asking me to do an hour-long consult with, this huge history, and I don't have, the information I need, and I don't know you. I could be being set up. So it's another one of these, somebody with just endless symptoms that will just go on and on and on with their symptoms and get more and more drugs and develop more problems. And this woman is only 40 years old, and she starts out by saying she thinks she has magnesium deficiency, but her test result was 5.9. And I recommend a 6.0 to 6.5 result as being optimal, but I don't know if she took magnesium just before the test or, if she avoided it for the 24 hours. So it just leaves me cold where people are asking me to give information when I just can't. But she's just to, give her an overview here of what I think about these symptoms. She says she has a laundry list of magnesium deficiency, and she's surprised that her magnesium levels are so high. 40 years old, still nursing her daughter, doesn't smoke, drink, or take non-prescription medication, but she is on 2 medications, a Klonopin and Mirtazapine. I haven't looked that up. Let's see what Wiki says about this. 1 second. I learn how to spell. Remeron. Oh, it's a nerve drug, right? And an antidepressant. It's not a fluoride. So she's on an antidepressant. And what's the other one? Klonopin. That's another antidepressant, I think. So these young people, it's a benzodiazepine. Oh, right. Yeah, and they can be highly addictive. So she's on 2 drugs. She was a college athlete, very active. Her illness began, and she states it below, goes on for a long period of time. Well, now what's she saying? Small intestinal bowel dysfunction, gastroparesis, anxiety, depression. December 2000 was in the midst of the most stressful time of her life, became violently ill with what I believe was food poisoning. Shortly thereafter, had the first panic attack and became depressed. So what happens is, I've heard this over and over again, people will have, food poisoning or a GI flu, have a lot of diarrhea and vomiting, and their electrolytes go crazy. Their magnesium becomes depleted, and potassium and sodium. And when that's not properly diagnosed and treated, then they start developing magnesium deficiency symptoms. So her anxiety and panic attacks got worse and worse and worse. For 15 years she had them. It just, it's so sad. It just goes on and on and on. In 2009, she began suffering restless leg syndrome and vertigo, more magnesium deficiency symptoms. And for some reason she was taking drugs for acne and began, I think, the diazepam and not sleeping. And then pregnant 2012 and has premature contractions and preeclampsia, which is magnesium deficiency. It's just a horrible situation, and again, something that I told her I can't really deal with this. Properly, either on the radio show or in an email. I think I'm really going to have to probably very much cut back on my consulting. Bob doesn't like me spending so much time on these emails because I'm doing it constantly because people are getting sicker and sicker and more desperate. But what I send people my FAQ, I said, look, I've spent all these years, figuring out what to do, writing it out in the 2 long e-books, doing the radio show, there's about 400 blogs out there and hundreds of articles, and a lot of people can follow them and get enough information to start feeling better.
Why do you say you can't help her? She just needs to take our magnesium. What's the issue there?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said,
you already told her.
Yeah, here's my FAQ. Start taking all the products. Start feeling better, and what's left over, I'll help you with. But,
and she wrote back and said what?
She said, thanks. I'll get onto it.
Okay, so that's good. What are you despondent about?
I guess it's just there's so many. What her problem was, maybe I didn't clarify. She said she started taking the Remag and started to get the detox effect, and so she didn't realize she should take it very slowly. I don't know. It's like, well, you're toxic because you're on medications and you've been on medications and you've been stressed and everything. So if you're going to take something good to help your body, then you're going to go through a shake-up and a transition, and that's what happens when you start good products that are working for you. So you just go slowly. If intellectually you see that what I'm saying makes sense, then just follow it and go slowly and, get in touch when you've run into a problem with that. But I guess people start out just, they're so desperate. When people write me and say, I'm desperate and I need your help, I run the other way because I don't treat desperation. I treat, or help people who are digging in and doing their research and finding out what's wrong and then going for the basics like I suggest. I guess I'm just whining and complaining. I apologize.
Well, the person I think who left the message, I heard them say, call, get back to me, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't it say in your phone message that you do not get back to people, they have to email you?
I do.
So the guy didn't even hear your phone message properly.
Well, if that's somebody, is that somebody that just called a minute ago?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't get back to people.
Yeah, and you say that on your voicemail.
Right. Okay, so sorry about that, Ginney. I devolved into a complaining person because, I want to reach out and help this person, but, I have...
You're North American.
Start taking the complement formula.
We got to put this on our website. If you're North American, you're pretty well dead. So recognize, steal softly through snow, move very cautiously. You're probably not going to make it.
But somebody did. Look at this one. Listen to this one.
Oh, okay. This is not a North American.
And this person says, there are way too many things that have changed in my wife's and my lives for the better after taking Dr. Dean's products, Remag, Relight, RNA Drops, Realign, and Renew, that it would be more like a research paper than a testimonial. Let's just say we already had been taking pink salt in our water for the last year and a half, but as soon as we started the complement formulas, we felt a newfound feeling of joy and goodness. It's very difficult to describe, but some of our benefits only after a few weeks have been loss of alcohol cravings, sweet tooth 99% gone, deeper sleep, massive dreams for both of us, shorter sleep patterns, more get up and go, lots of body aches from stairs, lots of sinus issues, mental clarity that just blows our minds. Sometimes it feels like we're in the land of Gumby when we talk to people who are magnesium deficient. But hey, I'm no slow preacher. I've told all my friends and coworkers. A handful have jumped in because of the difference they see in me. One testimonial I received in a text message last week was this: I need to share this with you. I got my cholesterol lab results back and the numbers were lower. Yay. The doctor said I should just keep doing what I'm doing, and I've been doing nothing, no Lipitor, and I'll check again in 6 months. This coworker is taking Remag and RNA drops only. The only, and I'm just trying to ease down here. He says the only thing we've experienced as negative is being tired sometimes, like after a busy weekend. And he said when we started looking at this, he said we did a quick reconciliation and realized, yeah, duh, we never would have hopped over to Catalina and went ziplining or a 4-hour Hummer tour or bike riding on Sunday all afternoon. Where before we would have gone to a cocktail lounge and gone home for a nap after a few drinks, now we're doing so much better and being so much different on magnesium. So, yeah, this is what can happen. And I don't know these people. They took in all the information, they applied it, and, maybe it is when a couple does it together, they support one another. I know a lot of people are helping their spouses, but that was a wonderful testimonial, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. We're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com. About 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Before we close out our show this evening, thanks everybody for tuning in and listening. Maybe a little less than that. I think my studio clock is off. But anyway, and Bill did also acknowledge that there's a couple things going on in the internet acting a little wonky with servers and things. So, it could be a little strange with the sound, but he's getting it fixed. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us tonight. Carolyn, let's see. Phone lines are open. Let's put out one more offering. If you're on the line and you have a question or comment, something you'd like to share, 602-666-6027. Just hit *5 on your keypad. That's *5. That will raise your hand and let us know that you have a question or comment. And that's what I thought. I thought our good friend Ruth had something to say to you, Carolyn. Go ahead, Ruth. You're on the line.
Hi, everybody. And nice to hear your voices.
Oh, nice to hear your voice back. It's been a couple of months.
Yep. Well, the last time I called, and I still have the same, don't know what to do, is I was told that I might try milk. Maybe I didn't have enough calcium, and it did help. But I want so much to increase the magnesium because when I was first doing it, and I understand now, I plunged right in and overdid it. I could sleep so much deeper. It was wonderful.
Yeah. What if you spray the Remag on? Do you think that will help?
I tried spraying 2 other products, magnesium, also the same type of magnesium, but I didn't want to waste my Remag in the spray bottle, and I bought this other stuff, and I get awful. It burns and stayed with me for a long time. It's
try the Remag.
So now today I slapped the Remag all over my leg when I got a spasm, and now it's gone.
Right.
But I wanted, I got to hurry up because I see you're going to shut up and close down in a minute. Yesterday, I picked out on a box of salted rice crackers. I ate a great many of them, and I haven't been eating grain at all. And then about 4 hours later when I was in bed, I got horrible cramps. And I was wondering if it had anything to do with all that salt that I added. And then
it's possible, but I couldn't say for sure.
I poured I didn't want to pour. I told you I didn't want to pour anything out minutes ago because I had another one of.
Now,
I just slapped the Remag on, onto my hand and put it all over my leg.
So why don't you take more Remag by mouth? Is it
because
the worry about the
cramps.
calcium?
I get terrible cramps if I raise my Remag. What is it?
You have to balance out your calcium. Well, hopefully, in the next short while, month or two, we'll have our calcium formula.
That would be so good.
Yeah, it'll be easier for you to manage.
Well, I saw my doctor today, and I told her I added the milk, and she had a long list of calcium things, that she thought might help, like salmon with bones, all that stuff.
Oh,
but they take
right.
time, and when I get one of these...
I know. Right. Well, the thing is, to eat something consistently. Like I know when I eat too much plain yogurt, I get yogurt maybe just once a month, and I'll eat a whole bunch of it, to go through it, and I'll need more magnesium when I eat it.
See, I do that kind of thing. I eat things in bunches.
Yeah. So it's more like, getting a cup of yogurt and just having a cup every second day instead of buying a whole quart of it.
Okay, now I am taking a medication, and I've been taking it for a few weeks, and it's a big help to me, but it could be causing more cramps. And it's called Adderall. It's it works on me like Adderall. It works on me like it quiets me down, and I can focus better. Is that?
So at your ripe age of, how old are you, Ruth?
90. And
at 90, they're putting you on an ADHD drug?
I asked for it.
Oh, okay.
I asked for it because I can't get any work done. No, it's just been developing. It's probably mental, but it sure helps. And I can't find any place. I went looking to see if that could be causing some of the cramps.
Well, what you'll do, this is what you'll do, Ruth, is you'll email Ginney at support@rnareset.com, and we'll send you to our website to get a calcium liquid that's similar to the picometer magnesium. It's not like the Recalcia we're making, but maybe if you start taking those drops along with your Remag, then you'll balance things out. So email Ginney, okay?
I will. That's good. Thank you. Because I know from experience that I want the Remag really helps me.
Ruth, are you on the drops?
It helps me so noticeably that...
Is Ruth on the drops, Carol?
Are you on the RNA drops still, Ruth?
No, I've tried them. Well,
frankly,
they can put you into a state of mind. I have trouble with that bottle.
They can put you into a state of mind where you don't have to do anything. And you're saying, I got to get things done. No.
Wait a minute, Bob. Before you go away, when I turn the bottle over to get a drop, I get a whole splash. Is there a way to, what should I do?
You can pour, take out that internal dropper, the European dropper, and pour the whole thing into a dropper bottle with your own dropper.
Okay. Look at that. I am getting... Well, all right. I'm not going to be ashamed of my age. I didn't even think of that. Okay.
Nobody does. Nobody knows even how to scroll down on a computer anymore. So
I do.
Okay, Ruth, we have to move on, and it's great you're our last caller, so you just stay well and take care.
Oh, thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, perfect end to the show. This has been Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. And, of course, we started out talking about active after 60, and then we end up with our good active friend Ruth at 90. So what a perfect wrap-up. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us this evening. If you missed any information, you're welcome to go back through and listen to it in the archive. It'll be posted in just a few minutes. Thank you, Bob, Carolyn, and everybody, and thank you, of course, Bill.
Thank you, Ginney.
Thank you, Ginney, Bob, and Bill. Great week once again.
Yeah. Yay!
Yay!